Good morning, friends. Welcome to OBE Journal 2019, number 3. If you are anywhere near ready, take some time, relax, and follow the words. Let them guide you. We're going very shortly to visit some dear departed loved ones. If you've been following along, you'll know what I mean when I say the instant transfer method. Just as the training program at the Monroe Institute, and I first saw this in the books of Bruce Moen, talks about not using the hemisync after training yourself with the hemisync tapes and putting them aside and doing it without the benefit of hemisync because your brain is entrained. They call that throwing away the training wheels. And a good metaphor it is too. Well, with the instant transfer method, we're not only throwing away the training wheels, we're throwing away the bike. And basically that's just a new metaphor for something I've been going on about since 2018 at least. In the 2018 series, we attempted that on several occasions. Or at least I did, and I hope some of you were following along. And we're doing it because I sense that A, it's possible, and it's the next step. Once you're accustomed to the notion that you can project, that you can bilocate, you can be in two places at once, then there is no need for mantras or rituals or really effort at all. It's effortless when your astral body slips out of your physical when you're sleeping. And everyone does it almost every night. Whether you just rise up out of your sleeping body and float in an unconscious state. Or you drift around the bedroom, drift around the house, drift around the neighborhood, drift up into the sky, go to the astral planes, change dimensions. We're merely trying to replicate that from a comfortable, seated, or I was going to say seated position, or lying down if you prefer. I'm not insisting that you sit up for this. I'm not insisting on anything. That just give it a try. So if you're with me, let us move now to wherever you feel the dear departed of your friends and family are and who you wish to contact on this particular visit. Think of them with love and affection and go there. There is nothing to impede you going there. Send your thoughts, send your loving thoughts, and watch them go. I quickly contacted my father, who's passed on decades ago, 50 years at least, and has been quite comfortable in spirit for many, many years. And his reaction was, "Oh, hello, Cord. What a surprise to see you here. What brings you here?" You know, that sort of thing. And I explained I'm showing some people how to visit their dear departed without any intermediate steps. And he sort of chuckled and thought that was a good idea. And, you know, congratulated me for doing so, or attempting to do so. So please feel free to interact with whichever loved ones you have contacted. I'm going to relax here and allow you the space to do so. Please don't feel rushed or that you're somehow not operating according to procedure. There is no procedure. Just do it. I'm hearing about my mother, who passed about 15 years ago, who's visiting my sister Irene and my nephew Christopher, both of whom who passed, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. And very casual, she's just gone to visit your sister Irene, and she'll be disappointed to hear that you've been here and she's missed you. My father's saying that the hardships of his previous incarnation and his health challenges all seem like very distant memories to him now. He hardly ever thinks of them. And you are planning your next trip down here, are you? And he's saying, yes, but I will see you before I go. And I say, well, that's great. Sounds like he's interested in being some kind of pilot. I can't quite tell. Is it the small personalized, I don't know. They're not going to be, we'll call them little jet mobiles. They're not going to be operated by jet. They'll be anti-gravity devices. Be personalized anti-gravity little, like flying cars. They won't have wings. He's looking forward to piloting one of those, and maybe flying people around that are a little too timid to do it for themselves. He thinks that'll be great fun. And of course the world will be quite different by the time he returns to the world of 1912 and 1925 that he was born into in working class in Glasgow between the wars and in the Depression. He asks me how all my ventures are going. He certainly knows about them from previous visits. We've had many previous visits. I remind him how slow progress can be on this plane, that there is sort of progress to be made and journeys to be taken, but compared to spirit, they're taken at a leaden pace, and things happen very slowly. He laughs when I tell him that. He remembers. He asks about various cousins and that are here on Earth still, and because all his contemporaries, my aunts and uncles and whatnot, they've all passed on. That whole generation's in spirit now. But the children many of the children are still here. And I've explained quickly what I know of the cousins that I'm in touch with, and there's others that I haven't seen in years and wouldn't know, but he understands. I explain about the racial strife we're experiencing on Earth as the forces of poverty and civil war push millions into refugee status and immigration, and the twin flames of acceptance and charity and rejection and fear, or how they're operating, or how I perceive them operating. And now I'm saying farewell, and we'll return in no time at all. No time to them. For them, it's they'll do a few things, and then there'll be other people visiting. I can see that by that whole generation of my extended family, all being in spirit. They're all quite settled at this point. They have their extended family and communities that they live in quite comfortably. And there might be some time before members of my generation join them, but they're not upset about that. They're patient and waiting. So I hope this time has been good for you, and you have been able to not be disturbed by my words and concentrate on your own dear departed. I will give you a little warning. We're about to move on. But, let's have some seconds of wrapping up what we're doing. Now, all of you know, either from reading or these reports of mine, or even the work of our esteemed friend Jürgen Zhu, whose great paintings and books evoke the beauties of the astral plane so accurately and beautifully. You'll be familiar with the concept of the gorgeous astral landscape. And whether it be mountains or valleys or waterfalls, canyons, that sort of thing. We're now going to visit one. Everyone, I encourage you to visit the one that pops up into your mind's eye as a lovely place to go. And let us go now. I'm at the edge of a marvelous waterfall. And you can be at the edge of, or right in the middle of anything you want. High mountains, in the snow, gorgeous lakes, little boats and yachts on beautiful lakes, elaborate planned gardens, some of you I know like to go to desert atmospheres. That's your joy, then go there. I'm flying in and through the various streams and splashes of water in this waterfall. Since I'm not physical, I'm not pressured by the great volume of water. It certainly sparkles at the edge as I say, at the edge rather than right in the middle, where there'd be a constant deluge, and at the edge sort of floating in and out of the drops, the flying drops all over the place. And of course, each one of them is a little marvelous little globe of colors and reflections. I know there's waterfall spirits here, as there always are, splashing about joyously in the midst of all the energy. Just as there are on the physical plane, I might add. I hope you're all enjoying your special places and gaining the sustenance that they give so freely. There's this endless joyousness at the edge of this waterfall. And as I imagine there is at any physical plane waterfall. There's a few in my geographical area. Obviously, there's the Niagara Falls, about 50 or 60 miles away, which I've visited many times. But even little local ones here in various ravines and forests not too distant. So let's have a go now at something that you may not be immediately attracted to. I'm going to go, and you can join me if you wish, or you can just be discomforted and maybe listen to what I'm saying. I'm thinking of the rebel group that just blew up all the was it churches and was it all churches and temples in Sri Lanka? There's a large coordinated operation that must have taken months of planning. And seeming to be anti-Christian, although maybe it's not completely anti-Christian, it's going to be churches as opposed to temples that were blown up, but I may not have heard all the details at this point. It's only about 3 days ago. But with all these rebel groups, they have deceased members who gather together in various spots on the astral plane. And I'm going to go visit them. And I thought about this a few moments ago, and they're in a, how shall I say, jungle enclave. At least it looks like a jungle to me. And perhaps from, where I live in Canada, any little tropical forest would look like a jungle to me. And they've still got the hideout mentality. Now, don't forget, these guys are all dead. One were either through natural causes, older members, or those who have died in previous skirmishes with the army or whoever they perceive to be the enemy. And as I move around, I'm getting a fair number of suspicious looks. They're wondering who I am. And is this one of our enemies? And I'm moving in and out of form. Sometimes I'm like, the Gordon that you see, and then if I feel a little too much heat, I just sort of shapeshift into a sort of a cloud of light, and that baffles them because they can't do that, or they can, but they haven't figured out how. So fairly, their tenacity fueled by resentment and anger and what's the other word I'm looking for? And this sort of messianic sense of mission to transform their society into exactly the one they want, with no room for others of different faiths. Anyway, that fanaticism keeps them on a certain fairly low level of the astral plane, not a hell realm. Is a sort of anyway, where the conditions vibrationally are fairly close to Earth. So they don't do much flying or shape-shifting because they're too much of a low vibration, and they barely even think of it. They've heard tales about it, fairy tales and legends of places where people can fly, and they function just in the lower astral. Such things function as the same way as legends and myths do here. Gives them something to fantasize about and go, oh, you don't really believe that, do you? And it's yet one more way in which certain areas of the spirit world are just like here. Their vibration is just too low because of their thoughts and their assumptions to, they're not in the heaven world of their faith and imaginings, because their sense of mission, fueled by the emotions that I just mentioned, keeps them at a much lower vibration. And of course they don't know that. They're quite enlivened by that sense of mission, and I can feel that they still, through various energetic rituals and attempts at telepathic contact, they're aiding as much as they can their comrades still on Earth, some of whom took part in this multi-location bombing mission of a few days ago. And as some of you will know, I first discovered this at the Mumbai attack of 8 or 10 years ago now. I'm thinking of it because they've just made a movie of it called Hotel Mumbai. And when I did a retro view of that, which is on YouTube years ago, I was alerted to the fact that, all kinds of spirit guides are around the locations of these terrorist attacks because they know about them ahead of time. There's the ones that are actively involved in encouraging it, and there's the ones who have a more angelic status who are there to help the dead move on. And they're all sort of waiting for it to happen, and they jump into action the very second that it starts. Anyway, I gave a detailed report there, but it just helped me realize that all these rebel groups, terrorist groups, have arms of them in the spirit world. Those that have passed on, they are bonded together by their sense of mission, and they don't really live a progressive spirit life as they could because they're obsessed with what they were doing on Earth. And of course, as I pointed out in other videos. That's the position of many who died obsessed by a certain activity, whether it be shooting heroin, drinking alcohol, gambling, having sex. If they have an obsessive activity, they're stuck to it. And maybe not forever, but for a while. Certainly not forever. But there's plenty of pockets of this in the lower astral, plenty. Anyway, I'm wandering through this sort of jungle enclave. There's various huts and buildings made from, natural, woven together leaves and various fibers and something that looks like bamboo to me. And here's Gord, who lives in a brick house in Ontario, but that's how it looks to me. And people are, various of the members of this group eye me warily, suspiciously, when I slip in and out of form just to see how they're going to react. And they know I'm not one of them. That's quite obvious. And they wonder what I'm doing here. Am I here to attack them? I think they've been there long enough to know that injurious attack is not possible. You can't grab somebody and really hurt them in the astral plane. You can send bad vibes to them, that's for sure. But you strike somebody, it doesn't really hurt. The same with, they've got thought form guns and thought form knives and different things, but they've already been through some tussles with others and realized that it doesn't really work. So they are focused on trying to help their comrades still on Earth. And I don't mind if this makes you uncomfortable, but it's a set of explorations I like to continue with. I did an interaction with one of the ISIS guys in one of their little outposts on the lower astral last year, I think, and actually had a one-on-one interview with them. And as you perhaps recall, they have strong views that they're happy to express. They haven't entered the joyful transcendence of the heaven worlds at all. They're in a place where they're, obsessed with plans and agendas and ambitions. And it's all about, still all about shifting their societies, and maybe the society of the whole planet, into the vision that they have. They're certainly not into the Brotherhood of Man stuff, that's for sure. Anyway, the guys and there's women too, I don't want to make it, just the one gender. They're of that nature, focused, and I can see or feel that their activities, and they look like normal day-to-day activities of people that would live in I don't know what to call them, jungle shacks. There's fires and there's cooking going on, and there's social activities. I can see various people playing various games. Although God knows what games they are, I can't really tell. But it's like you can see by the little bit of smile and laughter that they're enjoying it. And they're not really threatened by my presence, but no one seems to want to talk to me. And maybe I'm not making enough effort. I'm just sort of wandering through, maybe just to give you a taste. Maybe that's the purpose of this. And have you feel and see the reality of these extended communities. And they're bonding by their sense of tribalism and religion and purpose. And certainly if we want to think of North America, we have plenty of religious groups who feel that they're singularly worthy of God's special attentions, and the rest of us are all either non-existent or don't count. And so it's not just in the Far East and the world of radical Islam that this attitude exists. It's a mindset, and it's a mindset. It's a tribal mindset that we're trying to eradicate from the planet as we move toward, this idealized state of the brotherhood of man, where all beings, all sentient beings, humans of all genders, animals of all types, are considered equal and worthy of equal rights and freedom to express and explore their incarnations as they wish. No second-class citizens, no rejections, no repression, freedom of movement, freedom of thought. That's what we're moving to. But as we all know, there's many pockets of resistance to that vision. And I'm not suggesting that we force that on these people. Not at all. All we can do is send them love and understanding and hope that their hearts will be softened and they will come around. That judgmental paranoia will slip out of their hearts like ice warming up to water on a hot day. So friends, I hope you found this little journey illuminating, helpful. And I've had some of your fascinating experiences, all of your own, that have very little to do with what I've been jabbering on about. And that's the purpose, at least as I see it, extending ourselves at will to various places in the spirit worlds, and understanding that even though it's only a small part of you that's there, it is actually there. Instead of an entire body of thoughts like your mental body, you sent a little portion of your mental body with, 4 or 5 or 10 thoughts out there. And it's like a little probe, to use the space metaphor, a probe. A probe to Mars, a probe to the astral plane. It's not much different. You pick up information as you go, just as the probe did. It's not what the scientists would want, but it's what humanity needs. And I'll wish you all a fond farewell, and see you next time.